Howdy everybody, welcome back to the channel. So, I know I said I'd start doing the intros inside the main building, but I just can't get over the cool shots I can do from over here. But as you saw by the title today, we're going to be doing something a little fun. Now, warning beforehand, I have done this recording 3 times now, or this is the 3rd, because the 2 other times, something just kept going wrong. Whether it be the recording got corrupted or something went wrong with the drones and the game was basically buggy and it was nothing I did. I've had my own fair share of accidents caused by me, so I'm not taking the blame on that one. But we can get right into it. So, I have the Hornet we made in the previous video sitting right here on the ground, just charging away. Well, not charging, but set to charge, so it doesn't use the batteries. And this is the one that does the patrolling around the base, basically acting as a security guard for the compound. The one behind it is going to be its angrier, more aggressive brother. So this one, we are going to have, well, I've already done it, but I took its brains out because we're going to rework it. The reason I did that is because I want to try to make it out of a radar launch system. So, let's see if we can figure it out. I have the radar part down. The drone side of it, I still got to mess with a little bit. Might be a few kinks here or there, but we'll figure it out together. So with our radar, we have a rotor, an AI offensive block, an AI move block, 2 event controllers, one there and one there, and then we have a beacon and a thruster. And that's it. Pretty simple, right? The beacon is going to be called Threat Detected. We just keep the broadcast radius at 20,000 meters. That's fine. Do whatever. And we want to make sure it's toggled off. Our rotor, we just have the velocities. I have it set to 3. But you can have it set to as fast as you want. I mean, I don't recommend more than like 10. Otherwise, it just looks weird and it's not going to work as effectively. So, I keep it at 3 just because it looks better. It's a larger grid. If you do this on a small grid, which you can't, by the way, you can take all of these same blocks and put them on a small grid rotor. All you would need to do, is when you put your rotor down, get rid of the head on it, go into the console, and do add small head. And then you can place these same blocks just on top of that. AI offensive, 2 event controllers, a beacon. Actually, what side is, oh, well, whatever. You get the idea. We'll just do it this way. There you go. And now you have the same setup that I have up there. Just looks a little different, that's all. But in our console, if we go back in, the next thing we're going to mess with is the AI offensive. The attack is going to be enemies, target priority is going to be closest. Search interval, we're going to bring down to 20. Threatening subsystem, I want weapons. And then for the attack pattern, I want intercept. I know I called this the missile setting before, but that's kind of what I want this radar to try and do. We're going to keep guidance type basic. Basically what I want is when this offense block detects an enemy, I want it to throw that thruster or turn on the thruster and try to move this radar towards the enemy. And that's basically what we do by doing that. The AI flight controller, we have precision mode off, collision avoidance off, speed I want to crank all the way up, and altitude doesn't really matter, but I put it to 0 anyway. And then I don't need to touch the rest of this because it can't pitch and it can't roll. So now for our first event controller, we're going to call it threat detected. And we're going to change the thruster percentage. We're going to change the event to thrust percentage equal to or greater than 2%. Now we are just going to search for our radar thruster and add block. Now I put it at 2% because you can see over here it is slightly doing something every now and then. Just in case there's a lag spike or something like that, I don't want it to go above 1% and this be set for 1% and it's a false positive. That's why we set the AI flight to have max speed, so it'll just full bore that thruster anyway. Cool? Awesome. I like it. So we are done with the radar for now. We will come back to this last event controller later. Now we head over to our drone. First thing we are going to set up is our AI flight block, which let me make these a little easier to see, which remember has an orientation that we went over yesterday or the other day whenever you saw the other video. And then our AI flight recorder, which also has an orientation, but we also want it in the center of our connector as much as we can get it. So that is dead center of my connector, and that's where it's going. Now I'm also going to put a timer block in here just preemptively because we're going to need one. So this is our landing sequence, and that's what we're going to work on first. So I need, oops, wrong button. So I'm going to need a few things. I'm going to need my connector, my batteries, tanks, and thrusters. That one. Now I am also going to need, once I get off of here, cool. Now I also am going to want AI flight move behavior on and off, AI recorder behavior on and off, AI recorder play on off, and AI recorder add waypoint. Now what I want to do is go into my flight controller, make sure collision avoidance is turned on and precision mode is turned on. Everything else, we're going to just change the pitch angle to 30. And that's it. The minimum altitude I'm not worried about, and the line to P gravity I'm not worried about. The altitude I don't care because my base sits more than 25 meters off of the ground, so this can be fine. Aligned to P gravity, we're on the moon, even though it's not a planet, it still has gravity, so we want to keep that checked. Alright, on to our recorder. We want to show on HUD. We want to... I'm going to go ahead and turn this AI behavior on. And we want to show path on HUD. We also want to go into our info tab and show AI functions. Cool. Now, I do have a waypoint behind me already. That is called attack drone return. We're going to need that. If you do not have a waypoint, you're going to need one. So here's my attack drone return. I'm not going to start my recorder here, but this is where I want this drone to return to after it's done in battle. So we have that one, and then it's going to come down here. And I think I will start the waypoint about here, because I want to try and stay as level as possible. So waypoint 1, you can see the number 0 right there. It always starts at 0, so don't fret. Another waypoint. Another one. Now this is where I want to make sure I'm as aligned with the connector as I can be. Good. So we'll hit that one. And then I don't want to go too low, but I also don't want to be too high for this one. So we're going to hit that one. And now here, we want to try and make sure we're as above that connector as we can be. There we go. That looks pretty good. Then we will add our waypoint there. Now I want to go ahead and be able to turn my connector on and off. So we can go down, get the proximity, and then turn the connector off. And try to just get rid of that gap. Now if you mess up and it does something weird like that, just turn your connector back on and go up a little bit. Wait for it to settle. Turn the connector back off and try again. And that should be fine there. So that will be our last waypoint. So you can see my arc coming in. That's similar to what you want. You don't want to come in too steep, and you don't want to just go in a straight line. I mean, you can go in a straight line. Actually, that'd be perfect. But you also want to start high enough to where it's not going to collide with the terrain around. I kind of have hills and stuff around me, so I want to make sure the drone is high enough to where it avoids all of that. Alright, so we got our landing sequence. Next, we need to go into our recorder and go to our waypoints. First waypoint, or waypoint 1, we're going to go to setup action, and we are going to make sure the collision avoidance is turned off. That way, it doesn't do some weird stuff when it gets close to the base. I'm going to skip a couple and go to waypoint 4 and make sure our connector is turned on. Doesn't need to be, that's more of a fail-safe more than anything, just to ensure that it is turned on. And then waypoint 6, we're going to go to next, but we want to go to our timer block first. So this timer block, we are going to make landing. Its delay is going to be 2 to 3. And its actions are going to be lock the connector, batteries on recharge, Hornet tanks on stockpile, and then thrusters toggled off. We are also going to take our AI flight and turn the collision avoidance back on. Sound good? I think so. And then what we are going to do as well is take our AI flight move and turn precision mode off. Like it? I do. And then we go back to our recorder, go to waypoint 6, setup action, and grab our landing timer block and just press start. Love it. But you saw with our landing action, we turned off our precision mode. So how are we going to turn that back on? Well, we are going to use another timer block. So we'll just slap it there and get back in. So our timer block, this one we are just going to call final. Oops, I can spell right. For final approach. Its delay is going to be 0. So our 3 things in here are going to be AI flight move, collision avoidance off, AI flight move, precision mode on, and then our AI recorder is going to press play. Sound good? I think so. So if we go ahead and let me make sure, yep, everything is turned on. We turn on our autopilot. I should be able to just go to our final approach timer block and hit trigger now. So it's going to go up to this 0.0. Put that recorder right on it. And try to do our landing. Now I am going to hover over the buttons just in case. But I have pretty good confidence in this so far that it's going to work. There we go. So let me go ahead and turn off the AI and get everything back in the air so we can work on it. And I need oxygen. So let me do that real quick. Alright, now that I have my O2 back, we're gonna need a couple more blocks. So we are going to want our basic task block. So we can go up to that attack drone return. That's what's going to tell the drone to go there. We are also going to need two timer block or the two event controllers. Not there. Thank you. And one more timer block, as well as an AI offensive block. Okay, so let me color code these as we need them. So we have our main flight controller, we have our landing sequence, which I believe was those three, and we will consider the basic block landing sequence as well, because that's part of it. We go to blue, we have our event controllers, which will be our conditions for landing. And then we will make our attack white, as well as that last timer block, because that's what it's going to be used for. So, first, we have our AI basic task. We want to go in, and we want to set it for autopilot and one way. The waypoint is going to be that attack drone return that I set. And then if we select that waypoint and go to setup action, it's going to be the final approach timer block. We'll do start. Now, our last timer block is going to be our takeoff. Its delay is going to be as close to 0 as we can get. Its actions are going to be unlock the connector, batteries off of recharge, Hornet tanks off of stockpile, thrusters on. It is also, it is also going to go into our AI flight, move, turn its AI behavior on, which it should already be on, but just in case. It is going to turn collision avoidance on, and it is going to turn precision mode off. And then it is also going to take our AI basic and turn its AI behavior on. Make sense? I will explain all of that here in a minute, but those are what we wanted to do. Now, let's go into our event controllers. One is going to be called ammo, not mom, and it's going to go off of cargo filled equal to or less than. I'm going to give it 10%. And we are going to go with our 2 Gatlings and our small cargo containers. And then I want to hit this AND gate because I want the 10% of all of the inventory, not just one of them. Its actions is going to be to turn off the AI behavior for our offensive block, and then to toggle on the AI behavior for the basic task. Now, this should already be on because the offensive block only overwrites this, and then when it's done with battle, it returns to the basic task, but we want to ensure that it's on anyway. So I go ahead and turn it on. Our second event controller is going to have the same actions, but it is going to be for our hydrogen. If you have ion thrusters or atmospheric thrusters, you can make this your batteries. Principle is the same. You will just go to stored power, whereas I'm going to gas tank filled equal to or less than. I'm going to give myself 15% so we can make sure we get home. I'm going to select all of my tanks. And then once again, its actions are going to be the same. We are going to turn off the AI behavior for the offensive block. And we're going to turn on the behavior for the basic task block. So, what we've just done is we've made a timer block that sets our takeoff parameters. It disconnects us and turns on all of our function blocks, and it also turns on our AI. The one thing we're going to add to this is one last timer block, because in testing, it's a little bit sketchy with the defensive block actually engaging the target when it unlocks. It's a 50-50 shot on if it works or not. So, but this way, I've actually had a pretty decent result. So this one, we're just going to name attack. And its actions is just going to be to turn this offensive block behavior on. That's it. And then if we go to our takeoff timer block. Oh, and I want the attack to have a 1 second delay. A little more than 1, but if you want to make it 2, that's fine. Just depends on how close your waypoint is. Because we want this to activate before the drone gets to that landing waypoint. So if we go back into our takeoff timer block, we are just going to add our attack timer and start. So that should be what we have. Now, we should be ready to go. The only thing to do now is to test it. So I'm going to grab my takeoff timer block. And I'm just going to do trigger now on my hotbar, but it should be good to go. Next, I want to be able to see the AI behavior for my basic task. I also want to see the AI behavior for my offensive. Cool. I like it. I also want to be able to see my collision avoidance and my precision mode, just so I can keep an eye on them while this whole thing is playing. Alright, so if I press number 5, oh, yeah, it should work, because we put that on the hotbar. There it goes. And now if we look, it is doing what it needs to do. So our precision mode and our collision avoidance are turned off. It got to the waypoint. Now our precision mode is turned on. Good. It started playing the landing sequence. Collision avoidance has not been turned on yet. Oh no, collision avoidance gets turned off. That's right. And there we go. Perfect. So, we have a drone that can take off and land when told to by a timer block. That is perfect. Now, we have to test if it works against an enemy. But to do that, we want to go in here and find that last event controller we had for our radar. And it's going to be launch drones. I know you can't see it all the way, but pretend it's there. It's going to go off of block on off switched. And we are going to go to our beacon. Add that one. So whenever this beacon gets turned on, we are going to look for our takeoff timer block. There it is. And start. Oops. Must have had something in there. There we go. And that's all it's going to do. So now we have everything set for flight. We want to make sure it can actually fight. So let's go into our AI offensive. We want to target enemies. Target priority is going to be closest. Target search interval, I'm going to bring down to 20. Threatening subsystem, we're going to make weapons. The attack pattern, I want to do hit and run, because I want it to do a strafing run. Break-off distance is going to be 150. Retreat distance, we're going to make 600. That way it has a little bit of distance between it, but not too much. Retreat timeout, we're going to make 10. And then retreat angle, 45. And then choose our weapons. And that should be it for that one. Now the only thing we have to do after that is to take that speed limit and go all the way up with it. Because we have it controlled with the precision mode being turned on back in our landing sequence. And then we also have it turned on here in our final approach. So, last thing we need is an enemy to go after. Let's go ahead, get locked down. And then lock you down. And now we have to go to our radar because the space pirates have stolen one of my hornets. I'm kind of petty, so I'm gonna go blow it up. Or well, destroy its guns. So we're gonna activate our radar. To do that, we want to make sure the AI offensive behavior is turned on, and then all we have to do, if you've set everything else up correctly, is turn on the AI behavior for the flight. Give it a second. Enemy detected. we have a radar launching drone, or a radar launched drone. I like it. So let's go ahead and button it up. While I do that, I just want to tell you guys, if you have any questions about how any of this works, how the drone's actually doing this kind of maneuvers, or anything along those lines, or maybe you just can't figure it out to save your life, or having difficulties, or even just have ideas about what to do next, get a hold of me either in our Discord. You can find the link down in the description, or DM me on Twitter. Just hit the follow and send a message, and then I will try everything I can to help you out. I'm not just gonna leave you there stranded, empty-handed, not being able to wrap your head around it. And we have a bunch of good people in the community as well who will give you a hand as much as they can as well. So, with that, I'll leave you guys to it. This has been an interesting one, to say the least. I hope everything was explained decently. Like I said, third time I'm doing it. I don't want to do it a fourth time. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See you in the next video, everybody.